Hare Kṛṣṇa. Today reading from Bhagavad-Gītā as it is, 4th chapter, text number 17. Karmaṇo hi abhya boddhavyam boddhavyam cha vikarmaṇaḥ akarmaṇaś cha boddhavyam gahanā karmaṇo gatiḥ karmaṇo hyapi boddhavyam boddhavyam cha vikarmaṇaḥ akarmaṇaś cha boddhavyam gahanā karmaṇo gatiḥ karmaṇo hyapi boddhavyam boddhavyam cha vikarmaṇaḥ akarmaṇaś cha boddhavyam gahanā karmaṇo gatiḥ karmaṇo hi api boddhavyam boddhavyam cha vikarmaṇaḥ akarmaṇaś cha boddhavyam karmaṇo hyapi boddhavyam boddhavyam cha vikarmaṇaḥ akarmaṇaś cha boddhavyam gahanā karmaṇo hyapi karmaṇo hyapi boddhavyam boddhavyam cha vikarmaṇaḥ akarmaṇaś cha boddhavyam gahanā karmaṇo gatiḥ karmaṇo hyapi boddhavyam boddhavyam cha vikarmaṇaḥ akarmaṇaś cha boddhavyam gahanā karmaṇo gatiḥ hyapi boddhavyam boddhavyam cha vikarmaṇaḥ akarmaṇaś cha boddhavyam gahanā karmaṇo gatiḥ karmaṇo hyapi boddhavyam boddhavyam cha vikarmaṇaḥ akarmaṇaś cha boddhavyam gahanā karmaṇo gatiḥ karmaṇo hyapi boddhavyam boddhavyam cha vikarmaṇaḥ akarmaṇaś cha boddhavyam gahanā karmaṇo gatiḥ karmaṇa of work, he certainly, api also, boddhavyam should be understood, boddhavyam should be understood, cha also, vikarmaṇa of forbidden work, akarmaṇa of inaction, cha also, boddhavyam should be understood, gahanā very difficult, karmaṇa of work, gatiḥ entrance. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Purport. If one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinction between action, inaction, and unauthorized actions. One has to apply oneself to such an analysis of action, reaction, and perverted actions because it is a very difficult subject matter. To understand Kṛṣṇa consciousness and action according to its modes, one has to learn one's relationship with the Supreme. One who has learned perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servant of the Lord, and that consequently one has to act in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. The entire Bhagavad-Gita is directed towards this conclusion. Any other conclusions against this consciousness and its attendant actions are vikarma, or prohibited actions. To understand all this, one has to associate with authorities and Kṛṣṇa consciousness and learn the secret from them. This is as good as learning from the Lord directly. Otherwise, even the most intelligent persons will be bewildered. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yanam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Sabarantigam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalan Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sirupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Kṛṣṇa Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakandvitamscha He Kṛṣṇa Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Kṛṣṇa 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare karmaṇo hiya boddhavyam boddhavyam cha vikarmaṇaḥ akarmaṇaś boddhavyam gahanā karmaṇa gatiḥ. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So Kṛṣṇa is speaking to Arjuna in this 4th chapter, which is entitled Transcendental Knowledge. As in the beginning of this chapter, Kṛṣṇa is explaining to Arjuna that this knowledge has been received in the disciplic succession, this transcendental knowledge. And as we know, Kṛṣṇa himself, so not only here he spoke to Arjuna, but long before he spoke to the sun god also, and long before, at the beginning of creation, he spoke to Lord Brahma. Not only he spoke to Lord Brahma, but he spoke to others also. Also to Lord Shiva. He gave this transcendental knowledge. And in various incarnations, he has given knowledge to so many personalities. So one has to get this knowledge in the disciplic succession. One has to get transcendental knowledge from the Lord directly, as Kṛṣṇa is speaking to Arjuna, or from the Lord's representative, the bona fide spiritual master. As in this chapter also, later on, Kṛṣṇa is telling Arjuna, tadvidi paripatana pariprashnana sevaya upadekshati degyanam gyaninas tattva darshanaha. Oh my dear Arjuna, you may approach a tattva darshana, one who has seen the truth, one who understands the absolute truth, the spiritual master, and how you should approach him. Pranipatena pariprashnana, in a very humble way. And also one should be inquisitive to know more about the absolute truth. And in seva bhav, seva vritti should be there, ready to do seva to the spiritual master or whatever he's telling us to do. Or he will tell us also to serve Kṛṣṇa. So if we act accordingly, then we may be benefited. And then we can advance more and more on this path of devotional service. So here also, in this few verses here, Kṛṣṇa is explaining and saying that Yeyatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamiyam. As one surrenders unto me, I will give knowledge. So the more we are surrendering to Kṛṣṇa, the more Kṛṣṇa will help us. But first of all, again, the point is that we have to surrender to the spiritual master. And the more we surrender to him, the more we will benefit, and then we will be able to surrender to Kṛṣṇa properly. So because actually without the spiritual master, we may not understand properly what Kṛṣṇa is saying here, even in the Bhagavad-Gītā. What to speak, how to serve Kṛṣṇa in the Yacha Vigraha. So the spiritual master will explain how to serve Kṛṣṇa. And then, by following his instructions, and then Kṛṣṇa will reciprocate also with us, and then we can also see our direct relationship with Kṛṣṇa and directly be in the loving exchange with Kṛṣṇa. But first you have to approach the spiritual master. And then in the age of Kali, we should take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Kali Yuga avatar, who has established the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of the holy names, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So then we can, slowly but surely, we can enter into the realm of Braj. In Braj Bhav, then we can, with spontaneous affection, following the eternal associates of Kṛṣṇa, the Brijabasis, then we can approach Kṛṣṇa properly, and then there will be reciprocation with Kṛṣṇa, with Gopinath, Yashodanandan, Shyamasundar. Also, important point that, first of all, as Rupa Goswami has explained, and even Kṛṣṇa is hinting here also, Chaturvanam maya shrishtam, that we have to follow. Vana ashram, and Prabhupada towards the end of his life he was explaining that we have to follow Vana ashram. So by following rules and regulations, by following one's duty according to Vana and ashram, then we are properly situated, and then it will be more easy for us to approach the realm of Braj Bhakti, the realm of spontaneous love towards Kṛṣṇa, Raghunuga Bhakti. So it is a step-by-step process. Just like the children are going to school, first class, second class, third class. Similarly, one has to go step by step with the guidance of the spiritual master. So, then here is explaining in these verses, even in the last verse, that even intelligent persons, they're sometimes bewildered in knowing what to do and what not to do. So therefore Kṛṣṇa himself is explaining, but that we have to understand also with the help of the spiritual master. So the spiritual master will explain to us what we should do, what we should not do, what Kṛṣṇa wants to tell us. So here specifically, in this verse now, that Kṛṣṇa is explaining to Arjuna that the intricacies of actions are very hard to understand. Boddhavyam, to understand. Karmaṇaḥ. So many people are working, and that we can see in this world. But what is proper action? Karma, there's karma, here three words are there, karma, vikarma and akarma. So karma means actually acting usually in a positive way, and usually that will be explained also karma yoga, to be linked with the Supreme Lord, to do something for the Supreme Lord. Whereas vikarma, that means, so karma also means according to rules and regulations, according to Shastra, according to the instructions of the spiritual master, for the pleasure of the Lord. That is karma yoga. That is proper karma, proper action. That is usually always according to karma. Sometimes we hear people say also, even devotees, he is a karmi, he is a materialistic person, but that is fine. If he is doing according to Shastra, according to the Vedic injunction, according to Vana ashram, with Kṛṣṇa in the center. So sometimes people are doing karma according to Vana ashram also, but Kṛṣṇa is not in the center. So that is done ordinary karma. But when Kṛṣṇa is in the center, then it becomes karma yoga. Yoga means to link. One is linked with the Supreme Lord. That is proper action actually. Whereas if Kṛṣṇa is not in the center, then if one is doing good activities, that is fine. One will get good results, but one is bound by that. And if one is doing activities which are not good, then there will be some result which is not beneficial. And that is also binding. But it is better to do karma. But even better than karma, simply that is karma yoga, to link with the Supreme Lord, to have Kṛṣṇa in the center. That is actually proper action. That is proper karma. So, and then vikarma is mentioned here, vikarma. So that is actions which are forbidden, which are against the Vedic principles, the Vedic literatures, against the order of the Supreme Lord. And that is binding, and usually these activities, they will give a reaction which is not very pleasant. That is vikarma, which is against the Vedic literatures, which is against Shastra, which is not favorable, which is unfavorable towards others, even towards oneself. That is vikarma. So if one is, for example, hurting somebody else, or stealing something, so that will be vikarma. One is doing something, but it is not beneficial for others, not even for oneself. And that is not to be done. And there is a reaction for that. So for example, somebody is stealing, then there's a good chance that he will be caught. Because especially nowadays so many CCTV cameras are there, and people are watching, and then, oh, this person stole it, and they will catch him, and then he's put in jail. But even if there is no CCTV camera, but Kṛṣṇa is in the heart. And not only Kṛṣṇa, but the demigods are there. Vayudev, Suryadev, Chandrama, they also witness. And because all these witnesses are there, because Kṛṣṇa is performing his pastimes and he's not bothering to punish those in this material world. But his agents are there, the demigods, they will punish if one is doing something wrong. Even if one is doing something wrong, even a heinous crime, and he may not be caught. He may never be caught by the persons of this world, but he will have to suffer, because the higher beings are there, and they will understand, and he will be punished, this is for sure. One cannot escape in being in this material world and engaging in sinful activities, or activities against the Vedic literatures, against the scriptures, which are against the law of God, which are against the interest of the Lord, or even one's own interest ultimately. One may be thinking that by doing this activity I will benefit. A thief will be thinking, I am benefiting, I am getting money, and nobody is catching me. I am okay. But he's not okay. He will have to suffer. And even while stealing sometimes you can see, they will go in somebody's house, and then the owner is objecting, no, why are you taking my money? And they kill him also. Then he's even more implicated. He may not be caught by the government, by the police, but he will have to suffer. This is for sure. He may not understand, but he will have to suffer in this lifetime and then the next lifetime also. That is explained in the scriptures. Even in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained, it is clearly explained that what is the reaction of one's activities. Well, will be the reaction. So this is actually very scary. If one is reading, any intelligent person who is reading the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, he will think twice before doing something wrong. But those who don't know, in ignorance, they may do anything, but then they will have to suffer. So that is vikarma, that should never be done. And then akarma is also mentioned here. Akarma means inaction. So of course inaction, not doing anything, is better than doing something wrong. If one is thinking, okay, I'm in this world, I don't want to do anything. Some people are like this also. Even so, but usually of course, people who do not want to do anything, so either they're lazy or they're crazy, mostly. Lazy people, they think, why I should work? I don't want to work. He will put just a begging bowl. And then he will try to wait people who give some money. And of course, even this person, sometimes they get a lot of money. But still, that is also not ideal, begging from others. And then using for one's own sense gratification. So that will not do for oneself. And even those who are giving to a lazy person who is not doing anything, or crazy person, he will not benefit. Actually, he will be implicated. So even giving donation, that is explained by Kṛṣṇa in the Bhagavad-Gīta, that one could give donation to the Lord or to the devotee of the Lord who is serving the Lord, to the Vaishnavas, to the Brahmanas, and then one will get benefit because they are engaged in spiritual activities, then one will benefit. But if one is giving money to a sinful person who is smoking and drinking, one will be implicated also. One will have to suffer some reaction by doing that. So therefore here it is mentioned that the intricacies of action are very hard to understand, and not, an ordinary person he may not understand. But those who are learned in the scriptures, those who are serving the Lord, they are more knowledgeable and they can understand more clearly what will happen by one's activities or what other people are doing. They will understand more clearly. But still, the laws of material nature are very intricate, and it is not always easy to understand what will happen if such and such a person is doing one activity. Because, so there are so many implications are there. And for example, somebody may be doing something due to previous impressions also. So even we can see sometimes even saintly persons, they're trying to do devotional service, but then they will have some difficulty. For example, even a sadhu may be engaged in a relationship with a woman, which he should not do. And then, so for example, why this is happening? Of course, because free will is there every second. We can serve Kṛṣṇa, serve Maya. But sometimes one is impelled due to previous impressions and previous activities. Then there is a reaction from the previous life also. So therefore it is very intricate and it is difficult to properly understand what is happening now to us or to others also. But ultimately, we don't have to worry if you are surrendered to Kṛṣṇa. Because if one is surrendered to Kṛṣṇa, that whatever one has done before, that will be nullified to a great extent. But also it is explained not completely, just like the fan is running now, because it is hot. So now if suddenly it is raining, we are all waiting for the rain, right? At least I'm waiting, it's very hot and very sticky. So if it is raining nicely, then immediately you will feel cool and then you may turn off the fan. So when you turn off the fan, the switch which is there, so the fan will still run a little bit. Only after some time it will stop. So even if you surrender to Kṛṣṇa, then still there will be some reaction to one's past sinful activities, to some extent, to little extent. But if one is surrendered to Kṛṣṇa, one will be protected by Kṛṣṇa. And even if one has to suffer a little reaction, that will be very minimal. And then as a devotee we just have to tolerate. But sometimes even as a devotee we are so engaged in activities, we make a mistake, and then there may be a small reaction to that. Or even sometimes one is doing everything very nicely. One has been pious even in the previous life. But then still one may face some difficulty, because it is just the nature of this material world that some problem will come. Even the pure devotees, they are facing some problem many times in life. Because it is the nature of this material world that problems will come. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. One who has taken birth and death will come. And that is painful. Both to take birth and to die, it is usually painful. And then old age is there. Those who are older, I'm also getting older. Then we have so many pains are there. Knees, and then we cannot see properly. Even sometimes we cannot hear properly. The brain is also not working properly anymore. We are forgetting things. So, but then we have to tolerate. It is just there in this material world. But if we are surrendered to Kṛṣṇa, then the difficulties will be less, and we can more easily tolerate. And then when we are positively engaged, then we can feel some transcendental pleasure. And then the difficulties are much less. And therefore we don't have to worry too much about what is happening in life. If you are properly situated, if you are humble, tolerant, respectful, always trying to act according to Shastra, according to the instructions of the spiritual master, following the rules and regulations nicely, positively engaged in various limbs of devotional service, then we are properly situated, and then we can advance in spiritual life, and then the difficulties will be much less in our life. So, and in one sense also our karma, so if one is properly engaged in spiritual activities, so then it is also kind of akarma. Because akarma doesn't only mean inaction, but it means activities free from reaction to one's activities. As mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, akama sarva kamava moksha kamo dhiradi tivarena bhakti-yogena yajeta purusham param. So if one is approaching the Supreme Lord, one will be benefited. So even those who have no material desires are kama, who are not engaged in materialistic activities. So these are usually the devotees. They are not engaged in any activities of this material world. So karma yoga, they are linked with the Lord, and but they are not fully surrendered to Kṛṣṇa. So therefore they are still bound also by their activities. Whereas a devotee, he is doing activities, but that is bhakti-yoga. Because they do for the pleasure of the Lord, not for their own pleasure. And that is bhakti-yoga. And then Kṛṣṇa will be satisfied, and the devotee will be purified in existence, and he will be satisfied, and then there is no reaction to one's activities if one is engaged in bhakti-yoga. So in one sense that is also akarma. That is inaction in terms of not engaging in materialistic activities. So two kinds of akarma. One is those who engage in devotional service, they are not engaged in any activities of the material world, and those who are lazy, or those who don't know exactly what to do also sometimes, but they are not sinful. So, as explained, even crazy people, they don't know what they are doing, and they don't not doing much. So practically akarma is there, because they are not properly situated, even in this material world. So, but proper akama, that is the devotee who is engaged in spiritual activities. And then akama, sarva kamava, and those who are engaged in so many activities in this world, that is actually karma yoga also. But if Kṛṣṇa is in the center, or if one is doing at least something for Kṛṣṇa, but he has still material desires. Oh, he wants a new iPhone, and he wants a new computer, he needs this and that. Even somebody brahmachari and he wants to get married, and then he needs some facilities. But he's serving Kṛṣṇa, and he knows what to do. I have these material desires, what to do, but they are just there and I cannot control. But if we surrender to Kṛṣṇa to some extent, it will not be full surrender, but to some extent, I want to serve Kṛṣṇa, then he will be benefited by that. And he can slowly but surely advance. And moksha kama, once who wants to become free from this material world. So he's also benefited if ultimately serving Kṛṣṇa. But sometimes some people are there, even some sadhus are there, but they are not serving Kṛṣṇa. But they want to become free from this material world, mukti, which is fine. But that is also ultimately not the highest destination, moksha, to want to have liberation. Because then sometimes they want to merge in impersonal Brahman. But ultimately, that is also not the proper situation, because one is not serving the Supreme Lord. But the real mukti also, or moksha, is if one is engaged in devotional service. Then automatically by engaging in devotional service, engaging in so many activities, but for Krishna's pleasure, then automatically mukti is there, moksha is there, one is free from this material entanglement, from the cycle of birth and death. So the devotee, they are properly situated, and then they can also help others. And so especially those who are highly advanced, so they will be able to help the conditioned souls. If they take shelter of a pure devotee, the conditioned souls, that they can become free from this material entanglement. But otherwise it is difficult. And even sometimes the neophyte devotees, they don't know exactly what to do. Shall I do this now? Shall I do that? So therefore the advanced devotees are there. The spiritual master is there, and he will guide. Therefore it is mentioned one should be always under the guidance of the spiritual master or devotees who are more advanced. Then it will be easier to be properly situated, it will be easier to overcome difficulties, it will be easier to advance in spiritual life, and ultimately to become perfect in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. And basically here also Prabhupada is explaining that ultimately, and that is the first step in spiritual life, is to understand that we are not this body, that we are spirit soul, and that we are eternal servants of Kṛṣṇa, Jivera Supoi Kṛṣṇera Nityadas. That we have to understand. And then we have to also try to act on that platform. It is not enough simply to understand, I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul, I'm the servant of Kṛṣṇa, but one has to act in that capacity also. One has to practically engage the senses in Kṛṣṇa's service. One has to try to remember Kṛṣṇa. One has to try to do everything for Kṛṣṇa's pleasure. So Kṛṣṇa has to be in the center. And then one can properly advance in spiritual life. So, and here Prabhupada at the end, she's mentioning also, to understand all this, what to do, what not to do. To understand all this, one has to associate with authorities in Kṛṣṇa consciousness and learn the secret from them. And then he's saying this is as good as hearing from Kṛṣṇa directly. So Arjuna, he was able to hear directly from Kṛṣṇa. But if one is approaching the representative of Kṛṣṇa, the spiritual master, that is as good as hearing from Kṛṣṇa. And that is actually required to hear from the authorities, to hear from the spiritual master. Kṛṣṇa Kripa Sri Murti, the spiritual master is the embodiment of the mercy of Kṛṣṇa. So in this way Kṛṣṇa is helping the conditioned soul. Kṛṣṇa is in everyone's heart, and Kṛṣṇa from within is trying to help the conditioned soul. But the conditioned soul, because he is under modes of material nature, usually he cannot understand. what Kṛṣṇa wants to say to us. What Kṛṣṇa wants to say, he will not hear, because his consciousness is in this material world. Therefore he has to approach the spiritual master, the authority, the representative of Kṛṣṇa, who is always absorbed in Kṛṣṇa's seva. And then, so by approaching such a person, the spiritual master, then because he's in the heart of the pure devotee, and the pure devotee is in the heart of Kṛṣṇa. And then Kṛṣṇa is in the heart of the disciple also, of the practicing devotee. And therefore the pure devotee, because Kṛṣṇa is there and Kṛṣṇa is guiding the pure devotee. And he will tell how to help the disciple, because the Lord is there in the heart of everyone, and then he can properly guide. So, but even because the spiritual master is experienced, he is an experienced person in this material world, and even just by seeing a person, by seeing the face, then he can understand the state of mind of the disciple. And and of course, because he's always guided by the Supreme Lord, because he's absorbed in the Supreme Lord, and then the spiritual master is able to guide the disciple, so that this disciple can slowly but surely advance in spiritual life. Otherwise, Prabhupada is writing that even the most intelligent person will be bewildered. Even one may be very intelligent, but if he is not taking shelter of the representative of the Lord, then he will not be able to become perfect in spiritual life. Even if he is materially speaking very intelligent, but one must be in contact with the representative of the Lord, who is in contact, direct contact with Kṛṣṇa, and then one will be helped. Yes, also Kṛṣṇa is in the heart, and even if one in the beginning does not have a spiritual master, but then Kṛṣṇa may also help from within. But ultimately one has to approach its spiritual master. But not only that, one has to associate with the devotees also in general. Because one who may not be able to always with the spiritual master, because he may be traveling, or he has thousands of disciples, then sometimes the disciple, he cannot always have an exchange, personal exchange with the spiritual master. And then he has to take shelter of the other devotees, especially those who are more experienced. And then one will be able to also advance. So association with the devotees is very important. Therefore Prabhupada, he made this very beautiful Kṛṣṇa Balaram temple, and then the brahmachari ashram and guest house, so devotees can come and together they can serve Kṛṣṇa, together they can hear and chant about Kṛṣṇa, and this way they will be protected from the modes of material nature, from the external energy, and from the impurities which are there in the heart, and which are practically also stumbling blocks. But in the association of the devotees, in the association of the advanced devotees, the spiritual master, then slowly but surely one becomes free from all impurities, and one can overcome all difficulties of this material world. And then one can advance steadily in one's spiritual life, and also one may be able to get perfection in spiritual life. So, but to become perfect, one has to be very sincere, and one has to be very serious in one's spiritual life. And one has to be constantly engaged in spiritual activities. Datta karma praratanat, utsanishyadarya datta karma praratanat, sangotyaga sato vrite sadbir bhaktir prasiddhati. So bhakti can be complete, can be perfected if you are very enthusiastic, if you are fixed. So in the spiritual understanding, what is our goal? How to approach the goal, how to be properly situated, and one has to be patient also, because it will take time to become liberated. And one has to be always engaged in spiritual activities, Navavida Bhakti, the 9 limbs of devotional service, hearing, chanting about the Lord, remembering the Lord, serving the Lord, or glorifying the Lord, or as explained also, And the association of the devotees living in a holy place or in a temple, serving the deities, and especially just chanting the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, and if we want to go to Vrindavan, then we should also try to be absorbed in Braj Bhav. So, being absorbed in the moods of the eternal associates of Kṛṣṇa, like the gopis, Maria Yashoda, the friends of Kṛṣṇa. And according to their bhav, we should try to hear about them and try to see that their bhav can come in our heart, and then we can properly serve Kṛṣṇa. So that is ultimately also required if we want to go to Golok Vrindavan. Then we have to take shelter of the eternal associates of Kṛṣṇa in Braj. And then with spontaneous love one has to serve Kṛṣṇa. Still also following rules and regulations, but some rag should be there. Some spontaneous attraction should be there. Not that by force we are following the rules and regulation, but we should and then serve Kṛṣṇa. But with priti, bhakti, prem, so with love, with affection, sneha, one has to be engaged in the loving transcendental service, in the mood of the Brijabasis, and then we can quickly advance, and then we may attain perfection. So in one's life. So the main point is that what is action, what is forbidden action is not easily understood. So therefore we have to be in the association of the experienced devotees, and then we may advance nicely in our spiritual life and attain perfection. Hare Krishna. Any question? Everything is clear, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And you can have some prasad also. Hare Krishna. Yes?
You have explained really very nice what is karma, vikarmaṇaḥ, karma. Very beautiful class. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
I also quoted the akarmaṇaś, that for everything what you want to do, you read a bhakti-yoga, you read the portion. I missed your introduction.
You missed my introduction. Oh, I'm just a very insignificant servant of Kṛṣṇa. That's all. That's my introduction. Das, anudas. Hare Krishna. Yeah, I'm just a servant here. I'm a small pujari in the temple here. And so that's all. Okay? Hare Krishna.